Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this joint webinar between JUTA and the Law Society of South Africa. And we'd like to welcome everybody to what's a very important item for the legal profession. It was highlighted at our recent AGM in March in Johannesburg, and we are continuously engaging the profession with regards to artificial intelligence. And largely, we've been dealing with both the challenges and opportunities of artificial intelligence for legal practitioners. We know that it's going to change the way in which legal practitioners practice. And if legal practitioners do not adopt the technology, they will be at a disadvantage, because one of the advantages of artificial intelligence is to reduce the cost and also to increase the value of your consultation and opinions and advice that you give your clients. But it's also opened up a whole new industry for legal practitioners who are now not practicing law, but to act as consultants, just giving guidance with regards to outcomes for legal queries. And then that becomes an unfair competition for our members. So we have been encouraging members to engage with artificial intelligence, look at the advantages, but also at the same time uh, consider the ethical issues that artificial intelligence brings. And without much further ado, I'd like to welcome everybody to the meeting and give it over to the presenter. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Tony. I think now it's Edmund's turn to actually give a welcome to our members.
Welcome, everybody. Just on behalf of JUTA, I would like to extend a warm welcome to everyone as well. My name is Edmund Beerwinkel. I'm the Chief Content and Product Officer at JUTA. This year, we mark 170 years in business. So we are, and to thrive this long, as you will know, you have to constantly reinvent yourselves to just remain relevant to you, our customers. And I think we find ourselves at a point in our history where this is happening again. With Chat GPT and AI. It's all very interesting stuff, but also very challenging at the same time. And it's really a good opportunity for us here to have the speaker that we have and just to educate ourselves as to what this all means for us, not just for us as a publishing house, but also for the profession. So in appreciation of your unwavering support, we've teamed up with the LSSA and with LITT, that is the Legal Innovation Technology Tomorrow Institute of Nerushka Bowan, to present this webinar. Let me briefly introduce Nerushka. I think most of you will be familiar with her. She's an expert in technology and privacy law, leading the way at the intersection of law, innovation, and artificial intelligence. Through the LITT Institute, she provides specialized courses that delve into the legal, ethical, and regulatory dimensions of AI. Today, we look to Nerushka to enlighten us on the intricacies of AI. She'll spotlight the implications of AI in our swiftly changing digital landscape and educate us on how to navigate the complexities of AI with responsibility and ethically. I was already intrigued by just the introduction, and I'm sure you'll all have numerous questions by the end of this session. I want to extend my gratitude to the LSSA, Tony, Mapula, and Isabel, as well as Nerushka. It's been a pleasure collaborating with you, and it's a privilege to be part of this webinar and to host it with you. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that lovely introduction, and good day to everyone who's joining us. You can just give me a thumbs up once the slides are visible. Great. So thank you, everybody, and I hope you are excited for a really jam-packed session today. I've been given the task to tell you everything you need to know about AI and the law, and all within the next, less than an hour, really, as well as try and answer some of your pressing questions that you have on this very, very exciting topic. I'm doing a lot of work in the space at the moment, at all the various intersections of AI and the law, and I'm going to try and share a little bit of that journey with you today, and really update you on what's been happening and why is artificial intelligence and AI making the headlines. You know, every time you open anything really there's something to do with AI. So what's happening in the world today? Why is the legal profession, interested in this? And, AI is nothing new. We've had it for a long time. What's the difference now that's making it a pressing issue for everybody? So the first thing I want to ask all of you is, did you hear about the lawyers who cited fake cases in court? And not just in court, in one court, in multiple courts in different parts of the world. So earlier this year in New York, there was a case, and it was an aviation case, and these lawyers were busy researching some case law, and they heard about this new AI amazing tool called ChatGPT, and they're like, let's ask ChatGPT for the answers. And so off they went, chatting to ChatGPT, found the best cases in the world for their particular case, cited those cases, quoted the judges, everything was looking great, put that in their court filings. And then the other side received the documents and they started looking for these cases because in their research, they didn't find it. And they searched, and these cases were nowhere to be found. So they go back to the court and they say, we've tried to find these cases, but on all our research databases, we can't find them. Can the other side please deliver us the copies of these cases? So that's when they went looking for the cases, and then they realized these cases actually don't exist. And then they wondered, but why did ChatGPT tell us about these cases if they didn't exist? And that's when they realized that ChatGPT is capable of making up information, of making up fake news, and that this is actually, it has a term for it. It's called hallucinating. And so they had then used a new technology in a court case without understanding the risk, without understanding how it works, without understanding all the consequences. And as a result, they were fined $50,000. There's now new laws at the New York courts that you have to sign a document stating whether or not you've used AI in your submission. And there's a few other states that have also adopted similar rules since then, just so that the judges can be sure what are the lawyers doing, where are they finding these cases, and whether further interrogation is required. A couple of months later, in May this year, we had South African lawyers in a case in the magistrate's court, again looking for case law, heard about this beautiful thing called ChatGPT. Off they went and had this discussion with ChatGPT, found again the perfect cases, cited those cases in court, come to the front of the magistrate, and again, the other side is saying, but these cases are nowhere to be found. And it's at that point they realize, these cases do not exist. ChatGPT completely fabricated it. So what's actually going on here? And that is really that ChatGPT is trained to tell you what you want to hear. It was not trained to give you the most accurate legal advice on the planet. And so as we now understanding how these new technologies are working, we are able to identify the risks and able to identify what we can and can't use it for. And so, this is probably not the last time lawyers are going to get into trouble in this fashion, thinking they can save time and, go straight to ChatGPT for the answer. But hopefully these messages are going to spread and people are going to educate themselves in terms of how this works. And these types of engagements that we're having today is really part of that and really helping us understand what the risks are, but also what the opportunities are when we use the technology. Because at the end of the day, our ethical duties, it's a fine balance between the two. And so we're going to unpack so much about this and more as we navigate this morning. So, that was the first one about lawyers trying to use ChatGPT and ending up in that situation. The other thing that happened the other day is another lawyer is being sued for using a legal AI tool in the development of their court documents. It's a tool called iLevel.ai. It is a tool that was built for lawyers to use in the production of documents and things like that. And basically, this lawyer used this tool to put together a case, put together some arguments for Pras Michel. He was a member of a band called the Fugees, if anybody remembers that. and he's got some criminal fraud cases against him. And basically, he is now suing his lawyer and saying, well, you've not given me the best advice possible because you use some AI tool, and those arguments that the AI tool came up with was quite weak. And because of those weak arguments, I lost my case in court. And so now he is off suing the lawyer for damages for using that case. Another element in this particular case is that the lawyer who is using that tool is also a direct investor in that particular legal technology. There's so much happening in the world today. This is literally a couple of days old, this case, and this is not the last one. There's a couple of others pending as well. So many exciting things happening at the moment. So we're talking about AI and the law. There's so many intersections between AI and the law, and there's so much we can talk about. And I'm going to try and touch a little bit about everything, really. So, artificial intelligence, that's the technology we're talking about. I'm going to expand about what it is from a tech perspective. And then we have law and regulation. So what does AI and the law mean? So that means whenever this technology touches an existing law or regulation, there's something we need to unpack there. So where we're sitting right now, there's a number of privacy laws, industry laws like financial sector laws. There's some competition laws, consumer protection laws. We're finding some overlaps in those areas. From a regulatory perspective, we don't have an AI-specific law, but we don't need to wait for that because AI is about the output. If the output is regulated, then automatically the underlying technology is regulated. So you don't need to wait for AI law. AI law will come down the line and will look at the risks of AI. But in the meantime, AI is regulated in terms of what its output is, what its purpose is. And then we have this other element, which is lawyers and legal practice. So we have obviously lawyers who are advising clients on AI because every single industry is being disrupted by AI in some form or the other. And that does also have legal implications. There's employee risks of using AI. And so there's a whole new kind of industry and opportunity for upskilling yourself because you can then better advise your clients on these issues. And then there's the other element, which is you as a legal practitioner, how can you advance your practice and your own skill set with this tool and this technology called AI, while being mindful of the risks and while taking all those cautions? How do you leverage and benefit from it? So these are the various intersections between AI and the law. We can talk about hours about each and every one of them. This is literally my favorite topics to talk about, but I'm just going to give you the overview of everything today. So let's start at the beginning. What is artificial intelligence? Now, this is a very loaded word because it's been used for decades. It's not a new term. And it's been used in a variety of different ways. It doesn't have one distinct definition. It's got a variety of definitions depending on where you're looking and where you're reading. People often like to use the word AI because it makes things sound a bit fancy, a bit cool. Oh, we've got an AI-powered tool. And so you see the word AI being used very loosely in a lot of situations. My definition is quite simple. It's when we start giving human-like attributes to non-human machines. So if you have a machine, something that's not a human, and we start giving it things that are human-like, we start giving it some attributes of artificial intelligence. So think about an autonomous vehicle, right? Autonomous vehicle is driving down the road, but there's no human that's driving that vehicle. So what does it have to do? It has to be able to see its surroundings and hear what's going on around it in order to navigate and make decisions like a human would in that situation. So again, AI is also not new for you because you've been dealing with AI in many aspects of your life already. So just think about, after you get back home from work, you might sit on the couch and put on Netflix. Netflix is completely an AI-driven algorithm. And if you want to see the beauty in the algorithm, go look at somebody else's Netflix's homepage that has different tastes to you. Because what you will find is their Netflix looks completely different to yours because Netflix has curated a homepage for you very much based on your past history and what it thinks you want to watch next. And so it's quite interesting when you start looking at other people's Netflixes, because you then realize how much is out there and how little of the world we see. So because these algorithms, and this is also applicable to things like social media and music streaming services like Spotify and things like that, they start highly curating things and content for you that you stop seeing like 90% of the world out there, because you're only seeing what the algorithm thinks you want to see based on your past behaviors. This can become quite dangerous, especially with like extreme topics, like if you're on YouTube and you watch one, a bit of a weird topic, what YouTube will do, it'll start sending you other videos on that topic, and you will just go spiraling down some deep rabbit hole. And so you can't possibly start losing objectiveness because of that. So you've been very exposed to AI already. Smart home devices like Alexa, your smart assistants on your phone like Siri, your Uber has an algorithm to match drivers with passengers. AI is already a very, very important part of our lives, and it's not going anywhere, and it will just going to continue to grow and get smarter, basically. Now, what's the next thing? The next thing is machine learning. Now, machine learning is a subset of AI. So you can say artificial intelligence is the broad discipline. We lump everything into AI, whether it's intelligent or not so intelligent. We call it AI if it's got a little bit of logic in it. Machine learning now is a piece of the pie of AI, and that's where the machine starts getting a little bit more intelligent, because it starts doing things that we didn't originally program it to do. So it starts learning from data, it starts making its own assumptions, it starts coming to conclusions that we didn't even know were possible. And when it starts doing things like that, then we're jumping into the realm of machine learning, where the machine is actually starting to do things. And there's different types of machine learning. So we get supervised learning, which is your most basic type. And this is where, we are kind of still telling it what to do. So let's just say we wanted to learn the difference between what a cat is and what a dog is. So we're going to say, okay, dear machine, everything in folder A is a dog. Everything in folder B is a cat. Go learn what they look like. So they go off and it learns all the images in folder A, dog, 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 labels. Goes off and learns all the images in folder B, cat, 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 labels. Then you give it folder C, and you don't tell it what photographs are in there. But because you've already trained it to determine what's a dog and what's a cat, when you give it folder C, it will tell you, okay, these 10 are dogs, these 10 are cats, are moving these 10 to folder A, are moving these 10 to folder B. So you've told it what, trained it, you expected the outcome, you knew what was happening. That's supervised learning. Then we get to unsupervised learning. Now, unsupervised learning is where the algorithm decides for itself what needs to be done. We just throw the data at it, and the algorithm is going to tell us what the answer is. So we just take one folder and we say, here's data. The algorithm will go through and sift and sort and look for similarities and look for characteristics, and it will come back and say, I've identified that all of these pictures look the same, and I put them in folder A, and I've identified all of these pictures look similar, and I put them in folder B. I've separated it like this based on their physical characteristics. Then you can tell it, okay, folder A is dogs and folder B is cats. That's reinforced learning through human feedback. Now you're coming back and telling it, okay, you've separated it, and let me tell you what you've actually separated. Then it can get even more complicated, because sometimes the AI makes a mistake. So let's just say this guy is in there, and the AI looks at it and looks at the characteristics, pointy ears, pointy nose, small frame. This must be a cat. So plops this photograph into the cat pile. Now, when the human is reviewing the output, the human would say, actually, you made a mistake here. This is not a cat. This is a dog. It's called a chihuahua. Move it to folder A. So now that's called reinforcement learning through human feedback, where the human intervenes, teaches it, and then it won't repeat that mistake. So when I show it another chihuahua, it already knows, I've learned these are chihuahuas, these are dogs. So large language models, which is a form of generative AI, and what ChatGPT is was trained through a form of machine learning called reinforced learning through human feedback. There were a number of people involved in the early training stages who were paid to train the model. And then all of us are currently training the model. So every time you use the free version of ChatGPT, you are busy teaching it, this is a chihuahua, this is not a chihuahua. You are helping the algorithm to train. So that's machine learning. So now what is generative AI? Well, generative AI, again, is a subset. So within the realm of machine learning, we have something called deep learning. Now, this is now where we're starting to get the really smart and sophisticated AI, the one that can make decisions and come up with like super smart things. And within that subset of deep learning, again deeper, we have generative AI. Now, this is the AI, the algorithms have trained so much and so much data, it can now start creating things. So it's not just telling you information about your data anymore. Now it's actually creating new stuff and new information and new data, whether it's photographs or videos or poems or novels or whatever you want, really, a generative AI can do. And that's the realm of your ChatGPT, Google Bard, Claude, Llama. There's Bing. There's so many now that we have in this category. It's really exploding at the moment. But that's where generative AI sits in it. It's a really small subset of AI. So when we say AI, we're not talking about ChatGPT. AI is like super big, and then ChatGPT falls in this little basket of generative AI. So ChatGPT, what is it again? ChatGPT is a open source product that's developed by a company called OpenAI. They were a nonprofit organization just over a year ago, but then they received some investments, billions of dollars from Microsoft and a huge partnership with Microsoft. And now they've changed their model a little bit. They've split into a for-profit so that they can pay back the Microsoft loan and a nonprofit organization. So now they've got kind of dual objectives, but they still have ChatGPT 3.5, which is available to the public. And if you want the more powerful versions, ChatGPT 4, then you would have to pay a $20 per month subscription, which is still very cheap for the computing power that you're getting access to. And ChatGPT 3.5 is only text, so you can talk with it in natural language. It's like the way you would WhatsApp somebody, the way you would have a conversation. It's very much like that. That's the feeling of it if you haven't used it before. And ChatGPT 4 is multimodal. Multimodal means it's not just text. It can do video, it can do audio, it can do pictures, because it's now integrated with some other tools like DALL-E. DALL-E is an image generator. And so you can just talk to one chatbot and you can get different generated products. So the word GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. That's a technical term. And it's something that can generate data based on information it's been trained on. These so LLM is large language models, again, meaning it's just got such a vast amount of data that it's been trained on, and you're able to converse with it in natural language. Now, what is the data it's been trained on? Well, think about everything that you can find on Google, fed into a machine to train it. That's basically what's happened with a lot of these, with ChatGPT and similar GPT. So that's where we are. They've taken the information in the world, put it in here, and now they've given it back to us and say, talk to it and see what you can do with it. So you can already start thinking about all the consequences following up from that. So just to give you a spree of all the court cases that ChatGPT and OpenAI are currently facing, and this is not all of them, they are facing lawsuits because of using people's data. So think about it. Whatever information is available about you on the internet was probably used at some point to train one of these models without your consent, without your knowledge. You didn't even know this was happening. So from a privacy perspective, there's ongoing issues in terms of Is this even allowed? What are the legal basis? What are the justifications for this? We don't even have answers yet. We just have regulators making statements. We have court cases. We have a lot happening, even though we don't have the answers yet. Then the other big one is copyright. So, think about your image generators. Where would they get training from? All the images on Google have some copyright. So Getty Images, they license photographs to people to use in their work. And basically, Getty Images is suing OpenAI, saying you used our database to train, suing Stability Diffusion, which is one of the other AI generators, saying you used our images to train your model without our consent, without getting a license from us, and that's copyright infringement. And that case is ongoing. Very interesting. Couple of months after starting that court case, Getty Images themselves created a generative AI product for their clients, and they claim that their product does not infringe any copyright as well, and that the creators whose images were used in the training of the model will also receive royalties from their new product. So there's authors suing ChatGPT as well, because they're saying our books, which are our copyright, were used to train your model, and we did not license that to you. So there's a number of authors, even the Harry Potter authors, the Game of Thrones authors, all the big guys are busy with another case. Then there's a defamation case, because there's some famous radio host in I think it was Australia, and he said, I chatted to ChatGPT about myself, and it came up that all these nasty negative things that were untrue came up about me. And so now I'm suing ChatGPT for defamation, because why did it make up these nasty stories about me? So much happening in the space. We don't even have all the answers, because these are ongoing court cases, in different parts of the world. And we have regulatory intervention at the same time, and we have legislative intervention at the same time, and government and policy, and it's all happening. I promise you, every single day, it's super exciting in the AI world right now. So this is just an introduction in terms of what's really going on. So let's shift gears a little bit quickly to legal practice. So now, AI in legal practice is also not new. AI has been used in legal practice for a number of different things, a number of tools. We've got legal technology, legal operations. All of these lovely things have been going on for a long time, whether it's your e-discovery tools, due diligence tools, contract management, various data analytics and platforms and dashboards. We've had logic-based chatbots around for a while. So none of this is new. However, the generative AI capabilities and the power of the AI that we have today is quite new. So now, how does the game change of using generative AI in practice as opposed to just AI? What is happening in that space? So we've already got, again, lots of hoo-ha in the space. I told you at the start about the use of generative AI for legal research, the ChatGPT that was not trained for law. It was just, the open one, and lawyers getting into trouble for that. Another lawyer who used a legal technology tool that was trained for law, still getting sued by his client. It's very, very early days when it comes to generative AI, and we still kind of trying to find the balance between what's the best way to use it without, breaching our ethical obligations and professionalism duties to our clients. So that's where we are. We're figuring out where's the balance between the two. We've got, some big products already. Harvey AI launched a while back, almost a year ago. All the big law firms are trying to get their hands on Harvey, and it's supposed to be the next big thing. LexisNexis launched an AI product that they claim is hallucination free. So a generative AI product that is hallucination free. So I haven't tested it, but that's the claim. So you can do your legal research as you would with ChatGPT, but without the risk of hallucinations, which would be quite a big thing. And then, of course, Microsoft is really owning the space right now because of their partnership with OpenAI, has allowed them to basically put ChatGPT in all their tools. So think about I'm assuming most of you as lawyers, you live in Microsoft products, you live in Microsoft Word, you live in Outlook, maybe a little bit of PowerPoint, maybe a dab of Excel, obviously MS Teams. That's your world. Now think about the world that you're already existing in, which is the Microsoft world. And now everything's going to get a blast of generative AI capabilities inside of it. So whether you're asking it for it or not, it's going to come. And how is it going to help you? Well, as you're typing an email in your Outlook, it's going to like almost pre-draft that email for you. And it's going to already be trained on your previous history of your sent items. So it knows your tone, it knows how you speak, it knows how you speak to which people, it kind of already knows things about you. And so it might just start drafting emails for you. So are we going to end up in a world where we are just sending AI drafted emails to each other? Nobody's going to actually sit and type their own emails. When you open a Word document, I already spoken to lawyers who are using Copilot. They've got early access to Copilot. And they say already when they're doing their contract drafting, Copilot pops up and like gives them a little bit of tidbits, and they can ask it, can you do this? Can you draft this clause like this? And they're already using it in their contract drafting. This has already been happening for weeks with the lawyers that have had this early access. In Microsoft Teams, think about like taking minutes and taking meetings. You don't need a junior on the call anymore to take the minutes, because you just tell the Teams assistant, write out the minutes for me. And you can also tell it how to write it. I want, these bullet points, I want it like this in this format. Tell it what you need and train it to the way you want it. Give it some of your previous minutes maybe and train it. And that's what it says. So why it's game changing for law firms is the access to entry is so low, because you don't have to get a new product. You don't have to do vetting. You don't have to do all these things we normally have to do when we're onboarding a new tool in our environment, because change management is crazy. We don't want a tool that we're not familiar with. But if it's something, where we already are, it's meeting us where we work, and it's also helping us, then we're much, much, much more likely to use it. So my bet is Microsoft Copilot, it's not going to be available to everybody very soon, unfortunately. So it's going to come to enterprise clients, so basically 300 plus licenses first. They will either have access already or soon to have access. And then all of us smaller subscribers will have to wait a couple of months, or I'm not sure how long, before we get that access. So large law firms and large corporations are definitely ahead of the curve and have an advantage when it comes to Copilot because of that. However, there's still a number of other tools on the market that you can already start experimenting with, just to get a feel for what generative AI is and what the possibilities are for your particular use cases. So there's, as I said, enough opportunity for everybody in the AI space. And just 2 days ago or yesterday, I'm losing track of the days, ChatGPT, OpenAI announced GPTs. Now, what is this? This is the ability for you to create your own personal ChatGPT. So ChatGPT, as I said, trained on the information of the world. That makes it prone to hallucinations. It can just make up stuff. Now, if you have your own GPT, which is only trained on the data you want it to be trained on, your opinion, a book you wrote, your social media blog post, what you needed to do. Maybe you just feed it every single blog you've ever written, and you say, write me a new blog on 1, 2, 3. And then boom, you've got a new blog written completely in your style because it's been trained for you. This is really a game changer. In addition to that, you can also make this available in like an app store where other people can pay you money to use a GPT you created. You need zero coding skills. You just talk to ChatGPT to create your GPT. So again, this is available to people who subscribe to ChatGPT. Again, to get access to this type of technology for the subscription you pay is really a no-brainer, given how powerful this is. And yeah, I'm very excited. Basically, whatever you can think of, you can now create with these tools. Privacy, security has been thought of. There's a lot of options in terms of keeping information secure. compared to the more open versions where privacy is a huge issue. So yeah, go check these out. So much excitement. Another one, just to balance the conversation a little bit, is earlier this year there's this tool called Do Not Pay. So Do Not Pay has been around again for very long. It's an AI-powered tool, and what it does, it helps people with small matters. So maybe you want to fight a parking ticket, want to fight like a couple of small things. You just chat to it, and it drafts you the document so that you can kind of defend yourself. So there was a potential court case for one of the clients of Do Not Pay, and the founder basically made a public statement saying he's looking for a lawyer to stand in court with an earpiece in their ear, and the Do Not Pay chatbot is going to tell them in their ear exactly what to say in the court case, and they need to repeat everything. So basically, you just the voice of ChatGPT, but it's of the Do Not Pay robot, but the robot is actually arguing the case. And he got sued by another law firm in California to say this is completely unethical. Robots don't have a license to practice. Robots don't have law degrees, a whole lot of things, and this never ended up happening. So as you heard at the beginning, the ethical debate between where we are headed and what we can do and what we could do and what we shouldn't do and what we should do, it's anyone's guess at this stage. There's people getting in trouble, people making innovative steps. You need to figure out, what does the future hold for you, and what does that look like? I'm going to go really quick now, just that we don't run out of too much of time. But I'm not going to answer these questions. I want these questions to sit with you and just, let it help you frame your future. So imagine the future where you're asking your AI assistant, similar to how you would ask your candidate attorney or a junior associate, to draw up the first draft of your legal document, and the document you get back is very, very, very good. How would that change your practice, and what does that world look like? We're not too far from that world, so I want you to start thinking about it today. What about your future job? What if your future job is not to start with a blank page to draft, but your future job is how do we properly prompt? What is the correct prompt? If we're drafting an NDA or a service agreement, what are the right things to prompt the AI so we get a really good first draft? Are we moving towards becoming legal prompt engineers? Is that where the goal is going to be? Think about that. Does the legal professional who's using the tool ultimately carry all of the risk for any errors or decisions made by that AI? So if you're using Microsoft Copilot or Harvey AI or LexisNexis tool or any other tool that come up in the market, is there any liability on the service provider, on the developer of the AI, or you, the professional at the end of the day, you're the one with the license, you're the one that got admitted. Ultimately, it's probably you that's going to carry all this risk. So just bear that in mind when doing this. And think about all these ethical boundaries. There's an ethical duty on you to also not fall back behind practice. You need to give your client the best of the best. And the best of the best means using AI. You need to figure out how to do that. If we were not evolving, our practice, we are not averse to change. People always say lawyers are averse to change. If we were averse to change, we would be handwriting documents or using a typewriter and fax machine and docket. What are we doing? We are here engaging hundreds of us on this virtual platform, having this engagement together. We are sending emails. We are evolving with the technology as it evolves in a safe and manner to make sure our clients get the best. We are just in that next evolution, and we're figuring out what is next and what does that look like for us and for our clients in order for us to give them the best advice. So what are the risks we need to navigate as we make this journey? Because we have to make this journey. That's a no-brainer. We can't ignore it. We have to make the journey. How do we navigate the risks? So the biggest risk you have right now are your employees. If you banned AI in your organization and you banned ChatGPT, I promise you they are still using it. People tell me all the time, oh, think of this beautiful thing that I did with ChatGPT at work the other day. I did this. You don't know that they're using it, but they are using it. Have you given them any guidance or training in terms of what the risks are with ChatGPT? A simple ban or blanket ban is insufficient. You need to also give them training and information and guide them. And even you need to make policy decisions in terms of what you should be doing with these tools, because your employees are using them. They are out there and they're doing things, and you might be thinking they drafted a certain document, but maybe ChatGPT did it. So please be very mindful of this. Your biggest risk right now are your employees or your untrained, uninformed employees. If you've trained them, if you inform them, if they've been vetted, that's a different story. We're seeing banning coming up. 75% of organizations in the world have banned ChatGPT. The US Space Force is banning ChatGPT. Everybody's banning ChatGPT. It's a reasonable response given where we are, because we're still figuring things out. We're still making policy decisions. But be mindful that the ban is temporary. You have to take steps internally, figure out what your risk appetite is, what your governance protocols are, what you can and can't do with it, and then start rolling that out. Start rolling out your training, start educating your workforce. That's your next step. You can't stay stuck in that ban because it's not going to work. Think about social media. In the beginning, everybody banned social media. Oh, you can't use it. It's too risky, blah, blah, blah. Where are we now? We've had people fired through social media, but now we've trained our workforce. We have policies, and now we encourage use of social media because we see the benefits of using social media. We're going to have a similar journey with AI, with generative AI. It's just that generative AI is much more high risk than social media. Privacy issues I've discussed already. ChatGPT was banned for 1 month in April in Italy, and then they lifted the ban. The issues haven't been resolved, but even the regulators themselves don't know how to stop this. So we know it's not right, but what are we doing about it? Copyright, as I said, case laws happening left, right, and center. The other interesting thing is there was a case in the US that said anything generated by an AI cannot have copyright. And the reason for that is the lack of the human element. So if you write a poem or a novel, or you create a piece of art, and it's purely done by AI, you had no intervention in there, there may be no copyright in that output because a human was not involved in the development. Now think about that going into the future and a copyright protection and things like that. There's a whole lot of potential other issues that can come from there. So think about that one. The other huge issue with generative AI is deep fakes. So, I mean, how do you even know that I'm speaking to you right now? What if I am a fake AI bot that I've programmed to come and give this talk today? You actually wouldn't know, because that's how good the technology is today, that videos, photographs, even written content, the human eye cannot tell the difference between the two. So the executive order that Biden gave last week even says we need to get standards in place for that AI generated content is watermarked, that a computer can detect when something is AI generated or not, because today there is no way of telling. And so this proliferates fake news. People spread messages that they think looks real, but it's actually not. So don't trust anything that you see on the internet, on social media, even if it's a video. Don't trust it unless it's from a 100% reliable source. Now, the other scary thing that's happening, universities are using AI tools to detect whether their students are using AI in their assignments, detect plagiarism. Now, you may think this sounds like a positive. It's actually a really big negative, because these tools' levels of accuracy are so low that it's giving false positives. So students are being told that they plagiarize their exam or their thesis or their assignment, when actually the tool is just incorrect in its assumption. And think about the impact on a law student being told that they've plagiarized. It could have a potential impact for their entire career, not be seen as a fit and proper person. It's a huge. Universities, please don't use tools that are not that do not have accuracy levels. You could be ruining a student's life by wrongly accusing them of plagiarism. What should the students do? Well, students are making sure that they have version controls on any document that they're working on. If they accuse, they will show from a blank page till the document was submitted, all the various versions that they worked on. Others are filming themselves working on their assignments, so that if they ever accused in the future, they will show that video as evidence of them doing their work themselves. These are the drastic measures kids are taking to avoid being accused of plagiarism at universities. The other huge issue, bigger than robots coming to kill us, bigger than all of those other existential threats that we hear about in the movies, the biggest issue that we need to fix yesterday is bias and discrimination. These are baked into even basic AI models because the algorithm is only as good as the data it was trained on. You put bad data in, you're going to get bad data out. Now, if we already have bias and discrimination in our society, if that's embedded in our data, all we're doing by feeding that information into an AI algorithm is making those risks exponentially greater. So this risk that was in this box is now all over the world. So for example, if you type an Indian person into a tool, generative AI image tool called Midjourney, 90% of the time, you're going to get an old man with a beard. So I'm of Indian heritage. I do not look anything like this old man with a beard, but this is what an Indian person is being represented by generative AI tools. Similarly, if you say CEO, you're going to get a white man in a suit. Similarly, think about any other stereotype you can think of. These tools are amplifying these stereotypes that we have rather than helping us undo some of those societal bias and discrimination. So these are huge issues that we need to start figuring out, because what if we are using AI tools to make decisions, and those decisions are baked with bias at the end of the day? There was a case earlier this year in the US where there's this rental software that's being used to vet people to see if they are high risk to rent out an apartment. And certain people were kept getting declined rental because the software kept flagging them as a high risk to landlords. And so the government actually intervened here and took this case, the software, to court, because at the end of the day, the underlying data and algorithm that the software was using had so much of bias and discrimination in it, it was just automatically flagging Black females as a high risk and were unable to get, housing and accommodation. And so, these are the serious issues we need to think about. Think about people who are paying too expensive insurance or interest rates, things like that, purely because of bias in a system. That is just completely incorrect and against our constitution as well. So AI is not new. There are many existing laws and regulations that we already have to comply with. So many ethical considerations from a professional perspective and also in an industry perspective. You also need to take care of additional contractual protections. So for example, if you have an IT vendor, you might want to, or any vendor to a service provider, have AI transparency clauses so that they tell you when they're using AI. For example, if you hire a marketing company, you need to know if they're using AI in their output, because perhaps you're not going to have copyright in the output created by the marketing company if they're using certain AI tools. So AI transparency clauses is one example of contractual protections you need to start putting into agreements. Governance best practices in organizations needs a multi-stakeholder approach, and so many risks to be mitigated, as you know. From a regulatory perspective, regulation is coming. We have already at least 5 drafts. It's probably outdated. This is like 2 weeks old. 5 draft AI-specific regulations around the world. 1 already enacted in China. We had the executive order from Biden last week, which has sweeping implications for government in the US, and we're going to see a lot of development coming up in the next year. So many statements, guidance notes, frameworks, white papers, research reports. At the end of the day, but who is responsible when things go wrong and when we're using these AI tools? Is it the organization, the employee, the service provider, the developer of the AI, the person who gave us the data? Ultimately, if you're using that tool in your organization, the employee and the organization is ultimately responsible, unless you might have some contractual protections in there as well, but ultimately you will take the can. We are starting to see some developer protections, a little bit of intellectual property protections coming up from Microsoft, Google, OpenAI, Getty Images. So if you create something with their tool and you are accused of copyright infringement, they will actually defend your case for you. So that is the indemnity you get when using some of those tools. So what do you need to be doing? You need to be doing a whole lot of risk assessments, impact assessments, so how you would do like a privacy impact assessment. Now you need to convert that and include an AI impact assessment. There's things called algorithmic audits to detect things like bias as well. There already are so many frameworks, but one you can have a look at, from a governance perspective, is the LITT, which is a US-based standard, very, very detailed in terms of what are all the things that can be looked at when governing AI use. What are organizations, or what should they be doing? figuring out what their policy stance is on AI, seeing what processes need to be implemented, communicate with your staff, train your staff. At the end, the culture and accountability starts from the top. So the board has to take responsibility, and that needs to trickle down to the rest of the organization. What should you be doing as lawyers in South Africa in this day and age, trying to navigate this transformation? So I've come up with the 3 E's: education, exploration, and empathy. This is where your focus area should be. Education is what you're doing right now. You are keeping yourself educated and updated in terms of what the latest developments are, and this is an ongoing thing. Gone are the days where you go to university for 4 years, you get 1 degree, and then you just work the rest of your life. Going forward, we have to continually update and upskill ourselves on development in order to stay ahead of the curve and stay, we have an ethical obligation to do so for our clients. Number 2, exploration. Now, this is where sometimes law firms, don't get it right. We need to explore, take chances, create research and development teams. Yeah, we have legal tech, we have this, we have that, but we don't take time to be curious and explore and try things. And even if we fail, it's okay. That's what lawyers and law firms need to figure out. Discover potential new business opportunities, huge potential for new business with AI, and also to look at your existing practices and how can you do things differently? What can you incorporate? Start exploring and start doing things that are not going to get you in trouble in court. Don't use ChatGPT to draft a court paper, but maybe experiment with it. If you're writing a blog post for your website, use it as a say, okay, draft this paragraph on XYZ, see what it does, edit it a bit, put it in your article. Do things that are not going to get you in trouble to learn and explore. Empathy. At the end of the day, us as humans have something that the robots and the AI will never have, and that's our human-to-human relationships, our face-to-face engagements. When you meet somebody, the energy you get from a person, you're never going to get that from a tool. You're never going to get that from an AI assistant. So harness your human potential, and that should be the attribute that's going to be front and center. Leverage the human advantage. If the AI is going to, do all the other tedious work for us, we need to build our relationships, be out there, be empathetic. That's really going to be the game changer for us. And the people who follow these 3 E's will be the lawyers that shine as we evolve into this next evolution. And remember, we've evolved so many times. We got this. So closing word from ChatGPT. Dear esteemed lawyers, as you delve into the fascinating intersection of AI and the law, keep in mind that you hold a unique position in this ever-changing landscape. AI is a powerful tool, but it's your legal expertise and human touch that make all the difference. Embrace technology, explore its potential, and never lose sight of the empathy and wisdom that define your profession. You are the guardians of justice, and as you navigate the path ahead, you know that you have the capacity to shape the future of law for the better. Wishing you every success in your AI journey. Sincerely, your AI companion. And a little poem from ChatGPT. In the legal world where rules abound, 3 E's for AI, let's break it down. Education, knowledge is foundation. Stay updated, no stagnation. Exploration, seek the innovation. New opportunities, your motivation. Empathy, your human ace. With AI's help, win the race. So lawyers, with 3 E's, let's play. In the AI and law, brighten your day. That's me from the LITT Institute. I have a course coming up next week on generative AI. All of you have access to a discount if you put in JUTA 10. So hope to see some of you there next week. And that's my details in case you want to stay in touch with me. I know I've taken up a lot of time, but I'm not sure if we have questions. Just see a question from earlier. Wouldn't they have asked ChatGPT for references of the case and provide a copy to the court? Regardless of the country, how did they think they could get away with it? So they were asked, why didn't you verify these cases? And they said, oh, we asked ChatGPT if the cases are real, and ChatGPT said the cases are real. And that was all the verification they did. They didn't, so ChatGPT gave them a citation. They didn't take the citation and cross-reference it into another database. They just asked ChatGPT, is this a real citation? ChatGPT said yes, and they submitted it in court.
Everyone, I just want to find out, you spoke about the AI used in school. A friend of mine 2 months ago was disqualified to continue with his studies at the university due to the fact that the university picked up that he has copied his work because we were writing exam online and it was an open book exam. But when we checked the Turnitin, it said the similarities were 65%. So he was called in. When he was called in, he was then disqualified for 2 years or 3 years. He cannot register in any South African university. So now I just want to find out, because I was the one who was assisting him in this matter, unpacking the matter, and there's no way he could have work from Switzerland. The Turnitin was saying he copied work from Switzerland, Canada University, all over the world. Yet he had not used any other material except the one that is prescribed by the university. So how do we go about maybe reversing the decision that was taken by the institution?
You would have to follow the university's internal appeal process, and if necessary, I think even go to court. Unfortunately, because of the position of power of the university versus the student is often just left to accept the ruling of the university and can't really fight back. But if you are there to support them, you would have to put a case together and show other instances of inaccuracies that are documented in other parts of the world, and put a case together to say why such a big decision can't be taken. Unfortunately, hopefully you can fight back for him, but we're seeing these happening all over, and the students end up losing out because of the power imbalance in that relationship.
Thank you.
Just found those. Okay. What is the status of AI? What is the copyright status of AI in South Africa? So we don't have any cases yet in South Africa. So we're just taking our guidance from what's happening in other parts of the world. But based on the terms of the generative AI platforms, it says that you, as the person creating that output, would hold the copyright in it. Based on the case law we're seeing in the US, it says that there's no copyright in that. So there's no right to protect. And if somebody infringes your rights, you actually have no leg to stand on. So until that is tested, we don't actually have a position in South Africa. We just have opinions in terms of where it is. So it could be anything between the person prompting the AI that owns it or no copyright. But I don't think we're going to have a situation where the AI owns the copyright. That's, I think, would be a step too far. I know we have the patent, the AI that owns the patent, but that was more a procedural thing than a substantive thing in any event. Because machine learning relies on large data sets, is it not a much bigger risk using AI in a small market such as South Africa, where the algorithm has not had extensive training on our legal system? Such an important point. Not even just legal system, culture, language. The AI developers currently trying to build data sets in other languages because there's just so little data, so little accessible data. Even some of our data scientists can't even do their work properly here because we don't have these large data sets available for training. They end up going to countries like Japan and Germany to do their masters and their PhDs, which is such a sad thing, because we could have that knowledge progressing our data and our kind of building that. So again, it's a huge reason why using these kind of tools will have lots of bias, will not understand our climate, and until we have something that's more localized and has more of our data in it, as we are giving it that data, it'll become easier to use. So as we are going to move into a stage where we're going to get kind of a trained, GPT. So something that's been trained on the South African legal system, that's a very different situation. But these kind of openly available ones, you are 100% correct. It is a much bigger risk. what people's data has ChatGPT used that has led to these legal actions. So think about all the information on Google that's there. That's basically what ChatGPT has been trained on. And so it includes so much of personal information and things like that. And this is what has led to these legal actions. People have said, I've not given permission for you to train on my data. And so, and in addition to that, not just training on my data, it also makes up things about me. Like it told this one guy, he kind of linked a fake news report that this person was dead, but the person was alive and well. And they said, how traumatic for somebody to like search a name and then be told, this person died in X year, and here's a link to the news report reporting the death. So these are the crazy things that ChatGPT sometimes does. We don't understand why always, but it kind of used whatever data it could scrape from the internet. So that's where the issue is. Can AI be classed as intellectual property? So AI, the software code, the algorithms would fall under copyright, because software code is protected as copyright in the country. So that would be protected as intellectual property. The output, so what the AI generates, the poem or the picture, things like that, that is now debatable whether that can be classed as intellectual property because of the lack of the human element. What is your comment on ChatGPT passing the law exams? How competent do you regard it? So ChatGPT is very technically competent based on what it's been trained on. So if it's been trained on, kind of certain information, it's really, really smart in absorbing that information and being able to give it back to you in an intelligent way. So it's very competent in that respect, and I do think it's going to be a huge assistant in the legal profession because of that ability. So remember, previous kind of revolutions that we had were more technical in nature. So like automation of workshops and car manufacturers and things like that. We're now in the automation of knowledge. So we are knowledge workers. That's what we sell. And so we need to figure out, how do we maintain our position while navigating this transformation where a computer can do what a knowledge worker can do. Even software coders, a couple of years ago, kids were encouraged to become developers and software coders because it was the next big thing. Now you don't need to know how to write software to build anything. You can just do it all in natural language, and the machine does the coding for you in the back end. So even software development, is not what it used to be. And so that's why we also need to figure out, how do we use this powerful tool to our benefit, and not be scared of it, embrace it, and figure out what's our next step. Okay, I just saw a few more questions in the chat. I'll try and quickly address while we wait. There's a notion that AI may become sentient. What does that mean, and how will it even be measured in law? What a lovely question. And this is, what a lot of the ethical debates are surrounding is, are we going to reach AGI, artificial general intelligence, where humans and computers kind of equal each other, and then the computers surpass us? So the premise of any science fiction movie, The Matrix, The Terminator, all stems from sentience of AI. So if you're interested in that, go rewatch some of those movies and see it through this lens. So there's a very big philosophical debate, ethical debate, spiritual debate. What is the meaning of sentience, awareness? It is a very complex question. AI is going to become super smart at some tasks, and far surpass humans, and it's already surpassed humans in a number of tasks. That is for sure. Whether we get sentience in the sense of, does this human-made thing have awareness the way that a human has awareness, is more, for me, a spiritual, philosophical question. And there's something inside us that I feel can't be replicated in a machine. But there's very different schools of thoughts on that. The other thing is, they say because we can't properly understand our brains and replicate our brains, that's the only thing holding us back from reaching sentience. So Who knows where it's going to go? I still think there is going to be a distinction between the two, but I do think we're going to get super smart intelligence. But whether sentience, I'm less convinced. Okay, one last question, then I'll take from Robert in the Q&A section. What issues or problems arise when you assign ownership of AI-generated things to the programmer of the AI? You mentioned a general stance of denying copyright in the US to AI-generated works. Is that the best way forward for such works? Is there a better way? So I actually don't agree with the approach taken in the courts in the US, because I think it just opens up too many other issues. Because if you don't have copyright protection in that thing that you've created, there's so many knock-on effects. So I hope that will become overturned, and the position should be the person prompting the AI is the one who ultimately holds the copyright of the intellectual property in the output generated by the AI, which is the position taken by the generative AI tools. If you look at their terms and conditions, that's what they say. There's still a human element, because you're the one prompting it and telling it what to do. The Gen AI doesn't wake up and decide to create something. It only creates it because you prompted it. So that is my position in terms of where we should end up. Just because we had one case in the US doesn't mean it's going to change things. It's just the only thing that we have to look at right now. But that my view would be the person who prompted should be the IP holder as well.
The last question.
Yes.
Last question. Okay. Where is the South African legal landscape with regards to the adoption of smart legal contracts? Okay, again, there are different kind of terminologies in terms of what smart legal contracts mean, but often it means kind of automated pieces of code on a blockchain, self-executable, and kind of to the use of AI agents, and that kind of does its own thing. So, quick example. Let's just say we have an insurance policy on a blockchain, and you have hailstorm, and the cars in a certain area, their windshields have been broken. Then you'd have a weather oracle coming into the blockchain saying, hailstorm in this area. You'd have sensors on the vehicle saying these vehicles were in this area at the time of the hailstorm. You'd have sensors on the windscreen detecting damage, and all of that would be fed into the smart contract. The smart contract will have a set of preconditions. When those preconditions have been met, it will say, pay the insured 5,000 Rand. Now, because we had the three conditions, hailstorm, car at the place where the hailstorm was, damage to the windscreen, preconditions met, automatically that value will move from the insurance company to the insured. Now, the difference between money that we have in our bank accounts and kind of cryptocurrency can be programmed. And so you can write, AI code to do that. Legal landscape, Electronic Communications Transactions Act, covers the situation where an AI agent interacts with a human being and the consumer protections that the human being receives from interacting with an AI agent. Now, where our Electronic Communications Transactions Act doesn't cover is when the company has an AI agent and the individual has an AI agent, and the two AI agents are interacting with each other. We are yet to see if those consumer protections that protect the human also protect the human's AI agent, or by the fact that you electing to use an AI agent to enter into contracts with you, does that mean you lose your consumer protections in the Electronic Communications and Transactions Act? So, but have a look in there. It talks about automated contracts. Basically, our law it is legally recognizable. It's just the consumer protection issues that are not 100%. But our ECTA is quite, it flies below the radar, but it does do a lot in terms of our electronic communications, our electronic contracts. It allows for a lot to have legal standing ahead of some other, even first world countries. So go have a look at that in terms of where we are with smart legal contracts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Nerushka. I'm not going to wait for Mapula to give me the final go-ahead. We'd like to thank you very much for a very informative and sometimes disturbing discussion for all of us. But I think we will engage with our partner, Juta, to have a follow-up because I think many of the things you raise requires further consideration. And on behalf of the Law Society of South Africa, we'd like to thank you, Juta, and especially all the members and participants who attended today's webinar. I'm going to throw a curveball at the team. I want them to separate AI from our forum of ICT and put it as a separate forum. And then we will add resources there for anybody of the public, including practitioners and other participants, that they can access it. But also we'd like to say thank you very much for everyone who took the time to join us. We are sorry we ran a bit over the time, but I've understood from Isabel that the slides will be shared. The link will be sent out to all registered participants who can download the slide deck that Nerushka spoke to. But thank you very much, everyone. We really appreciate you guys joining us. And it's a journey, I think, that will never come to an end. It's almost going to be like religion. We will always be learning more and we will never get to an end point. Thank you very much, Nerushka. And thanks, Edmund and your team. We really appreciate the opportunity to link up with you guys and share with Juta. And remember, one of the reasons we have Nerushka here is that she's got her book. You can buy through Juta. But Edmund, if you got a last word, you can have it.
I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to collaborate with you. And like you say, this is the start of a journey, and Juta would like to walk with you on this journey. So let's discuss the next webinars that we can do in this space. And thank you to Nerushka as well. Thank you, and to everybody that attended. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.